back live from the LinkedIn Hub on day 4 of Advertising Week right here in Times Square, and I have with me Russell Sapienza. He is the Senior Partner in Entertainment Media Consulting Practice at PwC. Russell, I know most of us have heard of PwC, and we think of counting Oscars, right? Counting Oscar votes.
One of our claims to fame.
Right, but not your particular one.
No, not at all.
I take it you do a lot of other more interesting stuff, much more related also to advertising and Advertising Week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very substantial media practice. It's been around for decades. One of the things we're really known for is our 5-year entertainment media outlook, where we make projections as to the state of the industry in over 55 countries, in over 17 genres of media, and it's widely read by analysts and companies like LinkedIn and others.
I wonder if I can use my new buzzword for the day. Every day I learn one new one, so I have futurology. So you, do you think about the futurology of the advertising?
We do. We think about it in a couple ways. We think about it in the way companies are starting to converge. There's a lot of frenemies out there right now. We're one of those with a lot of these companies because of our digital marketing and our digital media businesses. So we're always on top of that. We do a lot of work with companies around the due diligence of mergers and acquisitions. That's one thing that we're well known for. Not just the financial acumen around it, but the operational and technology integrations. One thing I would say the advertising industry could do better is integration of their businesses, and we're seeing I would say a positive trend towards that. It's not perfect yet.
So you think a lot of big picture, and you look at like big long-term trends and where things are going, where things came from, right?
Absolutely. We call them the Megatrends, simply stated. You know, and it's at the mega level. It's things like scarcity of economic resources, the urbanization of the planet, the emergence of new technologies.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's what drives everything, quite frankly. And the root of all business challenges tends to gravitate back towards that. So we key off of those, and then we apply those mega trends to each of the industries that we serve. So we'll apply it to financial services, to insurance, to banking, to media,
to entertainment,
right. Communications, technology. And what that means to these companies in order to attract talent, keep that talent, to continue to create really innovative and relevant and value-added services and products.
So you mentioned amongst the things you were talking about is new media, and I know you are doing a panel, you did a panel on what, some of the pioneers, we'll call them, or some of the risk takers, those brave souls and visionary souls who really jumped in when it was still new media, when we were talking about new media.
In fact, it was called New Media. In New York here, we had a group called the New York New Media Association. This was formed in like 1994, 95. And these are companies like iVillage. Right. And on our panel yesterday, we had Robert Levitin, one of the founders of iVillage, who is still very active in coaching younger companies. And Robert's applying, he has a lot of arrow marks in his back that people don't see. And if not for people like Robert, absolutely. If not for people like Robert, many of us wouldn't even be here right now because they dealt with the early venture capital funding challenges and the privacy issues and the trust issues that this industry had during those early digital media days. And he's applying them now. He understands, he told this audience of millennials yesterday, look, when you're launching a business today versus 95 we could have it on a piece of paper and we got money. That's not so now. We have to have our product, the service, the business case really tight. In fact, we get called in a lot to kind of pressure test the business cases because we know in a constructively critical way perhaps where the exposure is and how to make it work.
So I want to talk about a little bit of your findings from that. Like what I don't want to say best practices that they picked up, but what are some of the things that they would do now differently and some of the things that they would do the same? Because there's some things that are still constant.
I'll give you one of each. Something that's done very differently now versus then is how these companies manage their talent.
Yes.
So, anyone around in 96, 97, 2000, 2002 wanted to work for a digital company. They would do anything. They would put their careers on pause. And they didn't mind getting reviewed once a year. The old school performance review. Let's sit down and chat in July.
Talk about the year. Talk about,
Exactly. Now, talent has to be managed by the minute. Our millennials and the generation of 20-somethings that work in these companies want to know at the end of each day, how did I do today? How was this script that I wrote? How was this brief that I drew up? How was this software that I coded? They want that constantly. And we espouse to it too at PwC. We've completely reinvented our performance management platform. We use the analog, let's take sports. We don't wait till the end of the season for Peyton Manning to be told how he did in the September game against the Giants. He's told as that happens. He's in the moment coaching. And that's how our coaching has to be now. It's much different than before. What's been the same? I would say there's many, but one in particular that I would say the audience would really keep their mind on, and that is trust building. We spent a lot of time in the late 90s with the FTC, with the FCC, with a lot of state regulators on privacy subjects. What you do with information, how you collect it, what are the notices, the disclosures, and the consents. That hasn't changed at all. It's gotten actually much more complex because these businesses,
so many different platforms and so many
absolutely, information's moving all over. Consumers are more willing to give up something if they get something, but that promise has to be made and kept.
Right, absolutely. And you were also talking, when we were chatting, you were saying one of the most important things that we need to be thinking about is tapping into the immense wealth of knowledge that these pioneers have, that that have been through it, that have the battle scars and the arrows in their back and so on. How do you think that we can best do that, and what is some of that?
Well, I would suggest if you're out there starting a new business or part of a business that's in its next stage of growth, we go through growing pains a bit, find one of those coaches. Have that adult in the room, if I can call it that. There are people, Robert was a great example yesterday, if I think back. He loves doing that for people.
Yeah.
I know I'll love doing that as I near my mandatory retirement at PwC, to be that coach, that in-the-moment person, who quite frankly won't be afraid to tell you that the emperor has no clothes. Because a lot of times in this industry, we don't like being frank about that.
Yeah.
And to encourage that failure sooner and faster.
So, as someone who spends a lot of time thinking big picture and kind of looking at where things are going and curves and so on, what do you think are a few of the really big trends that you're seeing moving forward for the industry and the evolution of the industry?
Right. Well, one trend certainly is where content is found. It's incredible.
Where's it coming from?
Absolutely incredible where that is. So having your network to find content is very different now than it was in the old days, and I'll call it the studio days. So having great ways of content creation and curation. And to mention curation, I think that's one thing that there's so much content. We're talking about the golden age of television and a wealth of content and binging. Any media company has to be a black belt now in curating its content, allowing its customer to create, I'll call it my schedule, my viewing, as opposed to having A through Z listings of drama, comedy. That's very different. And then I'd say I go back to talent. I keep going back to talent. It's the most important. It's a liquid asset in this industry, and it's really important for us to understand how people are managed, how people. I mean, a lot of these companies probably can't even imagine someone retiring from their business because they're just going to go off to some other business. But why not? Why not create that career path where people can go and grow and develop and know that they could spend 10, 15 years in business? I think a lot of people are maybe at the 5th year anniversaries right now in some of these media businesses.
Right.
That's about it.
That's about it, yeah.
Right.
That's the way it's become. Anyway, Russell, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
your insight. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. And
Thanks for
enjoy
having
the
me.
rest of advertising.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
you.